What's going on, my friends? Chris here. I want to bring you all an update today on Litecoin. Right now, we're sitting at $252. We're down about 3% right now. And what I want to do is look at Litecoin on the weekly time frame. Then we're also going to get into the daily time frame. And before we get into any of this, what I want to make sure you guys keep the closest eye on is Bitcoin. Remember, Litecoin is going to be an oscillator of Bitcoin, so you got to pay attention to Bitcoin and see what it's going to do. We could have the perfect setup in Litecoin, and if Bitcoin doesn't want to cooperate, most likely it's going to bring it down with it. Okay, but right now we're just going to look at Litecoin individually and really look at this on the longer term time frame. So if you guys get some from these videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Also, guys, smash that like button if you think Litecoin should be a top 5 coin in this cryptocurrency market. So number one thing I wanted to point out here, we're going to be looking at percentage ranges, and we're also going to be looking at dates. And why I think that is important is because when we're actually looking at the bull market that we've been in here, we want to measure the days just to roughly see where we're at in terms of the span and the time of things in these cyclical market cycles that we're in. So first of all, what I want to point out here, the last bull market that we had, so basically that this chart would give me, was roughly about 476 days. So you can see this huge run that we had, I mean, from around $4 all the way up to roughly about 483 on a wick. And that's what's possible in the cryptocurrency space, guys. I mean, when you find new coins and they can really do well, and they can really do well, I mean, guys, that's something not many other spaces can do this, okay? And these can be life-changing gains for people. But as we look at this here, we saw the first time it was over 12,000% from that $4 all the way up to over, $480 to the wick. Now, I do believe that each time we go through these cycles, there's going to be less and less gains. That's something that is going to take place. But if we look to where we bottomed here, and this was in March, we got down all the way to about $24. We have went up 1,266% here. So we're nowhere near. I mean, we're 10 times less than what we actually got on this side. And in my opinion, for Litecoin, because it runs so hard when it does run, if we can break up through, I think the big resistance area is going to be about $339. You can see we had a shooting star candle up to it right over here, had these longer wicks before. So this is a critical area for us. But if we can get up over top of that in the weeks to come, if Bitcoin wants to continue to cooperate, guys, that could give us those blue sky breakouts, and that's when things can get really exciting. Because if we take a look for Litecoin here, if we were this market cycle to hit $1,000, here would be our target. Just so you know, and you let me know down low if you just say yes or no, do you believe this is a possible target for Litecoin? So we would need a break from here up to that range. And I believe we could do something like that once we get the blow off top if we're to get them. Where the last 4 to 5 weeks, we just basically go straight up, sometimes only 2 weeks. But you get that massive move, and I believe that's what could take us to some of those higher numbers when we're stepping back and looking at this on a longer term time frame. If we get into the indicators, relative strength is always something to pay attention to. You can see last time when we had our climax top there, the relative strength got up to about 92 on the 1 week time frame. All right, right now we are roughly at about 63. So the nice thing about that is we're not in the 80s or 90s right now. We have room to make a pretty big move and go up and challenge 339 again in the weeks and months to come if we want to continue to get this buying pressure come in. That's the nice thing, guys, because say we were bouncing into this level up around $300 and the relative strength's up in the 90s, most likely we're going to have one of those dumps. But now we have enough room. If we take a look at our stock as well, I always like to pay attention to our stock RSI and kind of put that with the price action. So with the stock, we're actually crossing a little bit to the downside here, but we're not in overbought conditions yet again at 20 and 25 right now. So we definitely have room on the stock as well to make a nice strong move to the upside. If we get into the technicals, on the 1 day time frame, we're looking at a 3 sell, 8 neutral, and a 15 buy. Oscillators 1 sell, 7 neutral, and a 3 buy. Moving averages 2 sell, 1 neutral, and a 12 buy. If we throw on our moving averages, which is always something I like to pay attention to with the trend. Okay, let me clear a few things off here. So what we have now when we're looking at this, guys, still on the 1 week time frame, we're trading up above. We broke out of this symmetrical triangle. We broke out, went up to around that 339, back tested it, and now this is where we're trying to get out of it. We want to be able to hold as support about $223.42. It's going to be an important area for us, but we're trading up above the 20 EMA, we're up above the 50, we're up above the 100 and the 200. Okay, so the trend clearly up. And typically what happens in this last part of the bull market, when it does come, you can see how this moving average, it really points up straight, and we're not at that level yet. Okay, You can see, I would say the elevation that we have here would be something similar like back into this range, something along those lines. But, you know, for Litecoin, guys, this is a coin. When it wants to take off, it is going to take off, and many times it'll leave you in the dust. You know, that's just how it is. You have to be prepared for these moves. Now, if we get into the 1-day time frame and take a look here, what's the most important for us on the 1-day time frame is for us to stay up above this 20 EMA, have a daily candle close up above it today. You can see we've wicked down to it. See this 20? We've wicked down to it, so let's get a nice close up above that today. If we're not able to, we need to hold this 50 EMA, and that's going to be at $229. It's going to be another support area that we're looking for. We didn't have the biggest volume come in on this little bounce here, so one thing in terms of the negative downside, what we don't want to see is one of these now, where we just take a big plunge to the downside, right, guys? Because that's typically how it'll work. You'll get this little push up on lighter volume, and then you'll get a slam to the downside. Not saying that has to happen. It's just something we want to keep our eye on, and that's why we want to hold that 50 as well and make sure that we don't drop much lower. Then we look to the 100 for support. That'd be about 201, and then we look down to the 200, which is going to be at $161. Those are downside targets. Upside, get up above 264, then it'd be up to around $277 and $21 or 21 cents, excuse me, and then up to around 307.99 are going to be the upward targets. But you can see we did have some big selling pressure right back in this range. So that's a lot of volume. We need to start making it up here. And it's okay if we come back and have a higher low before we go up and do it again. That's fine. But we need to see that big buying pressure come in. And one more thing with the technicals, what I wanted to point out. I want to take a look at the week. So on the week, we have a 1 sell, a 10 neutral, and a 15 buy oscillator, 0 sell, 9 neutral, and 2 buy. Moving average is looking strong there. Up above everything from the 10 all the way to the 200. So very strong there in terms of the moving averages. You can clearly see the trends up, guys. That's what moving averages will do for you. They'll just show you. And Litecoin is just one of those coins. When it rips hard, but when it retraces very hard, and it gives back about half the move or a little bit more many times. We need to be prepared for that. But we do have room on the oscillators if Bitcoin wants to cooperate, really try to go up and test some of those higher levels. So let me know what you're doing with Litecoin down low, guys. God bless each and every one of you. Appreciate you being here with me today. Take care.